Hello everyone and welcome to Heart and Hand Extra. That's our second weekly show each week where we preview the upcoming fixture, and I'm delighted to be able to do that today after what has seemed an absolutely interminable international break. My name's David Edgar and joining me today is my good friend and colleague Mr. Alex Staff. Hello Alex.
Hi there David, how are you feeling?
Better now that we have this show as a harbinger of football returning, because this has seemed a particularly long international break, and I don't think I'm alone in that. I think speaking to a few people, they've felt that this one has dragged on a little.
It was pretty much the same the last time as well. I think that we had our fill of international football this summer. We're done with that now. I say that as someone who isn't as negative about it and does see a place for it still. Where many don't. I think that they're coming very quickly. We're going to be in the same situation before we know it again in November, with another couple of weeks coming up then. So it's just because they're all coming in quick succession. It's feeling like we just had the World Cup. We don't really care about the rest of it. Just get us to the next tournament, would you?
I think it kind of feels like it breaks up the season, that you do wait for the season to kick in, and then just as it seems to be going each time, it gets broken up. Although we have to look at the positives from a Rangers point of view. It's been 2 weeks off. There's been a lot of players back at Ibrox, which has given Steven Gerrard 2 weeks on the coaching field, along with obviously Michael Beale, Jordan Milsom, Tom Culshaw, etc. So I think that there is a positive effect for Rangers after a period in which we played an awful lot of matches very quickly, and another period coming up where we'll do the same.
Yeah, there's definitely a positive in that respect, but from a fan's perspective, it's just an impatience, isn't it, really? We don't need quite as much rest from it as the players do, so we get a bit frustrated when we don't have Rangers, especially when they're playing well, which they are at the moment, and that makes a big difference as well.
Yes, that's true. Had this happened maybe this time last season, there wouldn't have quite been the same. 2 weeks off would have maybe been a positive, to something to look forward to. But no, you're right, especially after Rangers' rather thrilling 3-1 victory over Hearts in our last match. Now, of course, a few things have happened in the international break that we just would like to touch on, one of which has obviously a huge potential direct effect for Rangers at the weekend. But first things that we should mention, because we didn't have a show, or we did have a show, but it was dealing with an episode of The Time Capsule. I hope you all enjoyed that. It was a little bonus International Week special. But the Paul Gascoigne Hall of Fame snub appears to have played itself out now. What lessons can we take from this, Alex?
I think we've been reminded of the incompetence of the people who run the game in Scotland. I think we've been reminded of the absolute, I'll try to think of the right word here, they seem to be untouchable, don't they?
Yeah.
There's going to be absolutely no consequences come from this. As you say, it seems to have played itself out. Thankfully, Gazza seems to be okay with it. He seems to have taken it in, quite bullish spirit, for want of a better word. He's wound them up a little bit with it as well, which is good to see Gazza in that sort of mood. I would hope that someone somewhere has learned that before we start giving the names away of people who have been nominated for such things, that the actual decision has been made, because it doesn't really come across this time as though it had been. And I would also prefer, and this is never going to happen, I'd have preferred him to have been honest about it. Because by citing his health, I don't believe that his health was the issue.
No, it wasn't.
And that just blew up, and that caused a lot of anger, especially, me and you both felt that quite keenly at the time. If they'd just been a bit more honest about it, okay, yeah, there would have been one set of people getting annoyed about it, yet the entire country going nuts because of what they said. So yeah, let's try and be a bit more open about it all as well. But we know these things aren't going to happen, and we know that sometime in the next couple of years there is going to be another absolute farcical situation that will be similar to this, where we just look back and think, how do we keep doing this? But that's Scottish football for you, isn't it? It
was the sheer callousness of it that offended me, and offended, I think, as you say, the vast majority of society, because they had made the decision, obviously, and then tried to work back to find a solution. And one of the things they felt was appropriate to help cover their arse was his mental health, which is a no-go area. You cannot use someone's mental health as a stick to beat them with in 2018. It's not acceptable. It's not where we want to be as a society. And there is the feeling, of course, it persists, that they wouldn't have done it with anyone else, but it's Rangers. It doesn't matter. And you can have your issues with Paul Gascoigne, I'm sure a lot of people do, for things that he's done in the past, but you cannot send the message to anyone who's out there suffering with mental health that their mental health can be weaponised and can be used against them. That's disgraceful, and that's what they did. And there will be people out there suffering who are afraid to come forward for help because they're worried about the stigma attached to mental health. And what the Hall of Fame incident did was tell those people that those concerns are genuine, and that's not where we should be at this stage of human history. So it was awful, it was venal, it was cruel, and it deservedly humiliated the people who run Scottish football, because they, I think, held themselves up to worldwide scrutiny of what they're like by taking on a popular football figure and, as I say, using the basest of elements of the argument to try and win it to protect themselves. And it's not acceptable, and I'm glad that people are coming out after it. And I do want to see heads rolling over it. I want to know who the SFA committee members were who threatened to boycott the event. I want to know what their motivations were, and I think they should be forced to answer for it, Alex.
They would be lovely, but we just know that's not going to happen. So it's one of those situations where, yes, that's what should happen. Yes, you have every right to be frustrated about it, but it feels almost futile to be so, because we just know that it's not going to be the case. You're right, everything about that was. Can you imagine a similar situation with Fernando Rickson, for example? Can you imagine that he'd been nominated for such things, and then someone had come out afterwards and went, well, we're not too sure about his health, so we've cancelled it?
Yeah,
the
exactly.
uproar would have been huge. They wouldn't even contemplate it. And at a time where you are trying to, there's a serious and very fair debate about whether or not chronic mental health issues should be considered the same as chronic physical health issues. It's not exactly hidden that Paul Gascoigne has some, there's not a part of Paul Gascoigne's life that hasn't been publicised for decades now. So yeah, it's as you say, it just added to what's already a very kind of sad situation with the stigma attached to these things. I'm not even sure they realised they were doing that, which makes it even worse in many respects, but there you go.
So moving then on to on-field football matters, Rangers travel to Hamilton this weekend, another plastic pitch to look forward to, and are hoping to slay our so far rather poor away league record, which has seen us pick up just 2 points out of a possible 12 on our travels. Now, we will do so, Alex, at this point of recording without Kyle Lafferty, after the Northern Irish FA invoked the 5-day clause, which prevents players who pull out of international squads with injury from appearing for their club sides within that period, that timescale. Now, although Northern Ireland's fixture fell before 5 days, it's considered from the end of the international period, which is the block of time that UEFA set aside for these matches, or FIFA as well set aside for these matches. So it does fall under the parameters. Now, the reasons behind this, it seems to have been a bit of a stramash between Kyle Lafferty, Michael O'Neill and the Northern Irish FA. Rangers had said that Kyle Lafferty was fit. Kyle Lafferty disputed that in a phone call, a late night phone call to Michael O'Neill, telling him that he was pulling out, and the timing of it angered Michael O'Neill, as they felt that it left Northern Ireland without the opportunity to bring in a replacement, left them short-handed up front, and there is a lot of anger on both sides about this. Now, Rangers fans, although there obviously are a lot of Northern Irish Rangers fans, there's an awful lot of non-Northern Irish Rangers fans, and a huge tranche of those who don't care about international football in the slightest, who I think understandably feel aggrieved at this decision, because of course the people who really suffer from this are Rangers fans. Alex, what's your take on the whole event?
In a wider sense, it seems strange. I'm surprised I've realised more often by international teams. I can understand the reasons behind it. Had Lafferty just went along and then been declared injured by Northern Ireland, then we wouldn't have any of this. Even if he was fit and ready to play for Sunday, we wouldn't have any of these issues. We'll see that with the likes of Katic or possibly Barisic, although I don't know, I've not seen him in any of the training pictures, so it may be that his injury's a little worse than we've been told. But if he just went along and done that, then that would have been the end of it. It's frustrating because it's another squad option down for us. Probably Lafferty wouldn't have started the match, but he's always just sort of have on the bench in these sort of games. I don't know. I feel as though he's not really done it the correct way himself, though, and that slightly frustrates me as well. If the club are saying he's fit, then it's not like if the club had come out and said no, look, he's injured, then I would have a very different view on this. But for the club to say no, he's fine, and then Lafferty to do what he done himself, I can imagine Steven Gerrard being a little bit annoyed by it. Actually, annoyed by how he's dealt with it, rather than surely if Lafferty wanted he could have had a word with somebody at the club and said, look, could you tell them I'm injured? Surely he could have done that first if he wanted. If this is as simple as Kyle just not really being in the mood for this one, or not feeling it or whatever, surely he could have done that. So it just feels to me as though he's not quite dealt with it correctly. So yes, the consequences are annoying for us, but they come from something that he's not really quite done right, I would say, anyway.
We spoke on our Patreon site, we spoke to David Graham, who's a Northern Irish Rangers fan, and he said that from Kyle Lafferty's side, the feeling was that Kyle really does want to concentrate at the moment on his Rangers career, because he sees this very much as an unexpected second chance, and that given that he's out of the semi-final already because of being cup tied, that he wanted to spend 2 weeks with the training, get the squad and whatnot, and that's understandable. And I think that is the problem with these international matches, that while in an ideal world players would be desperate to turn up for their country and whatnot, there are times when players do want to focus on something else, and it does seem to be very much an either or thing. You can retire and take yourself out of it from international football, and that means that this law doesn't apply to you, but it means that you can't be selected for your country, or you have to go every time you're called up. And again, you wonder if it couldn't have been better managed by all sides, where there's a bit of a miscommunication issue at Ibrox, where, as you say, club saying one thing, Kyle saying another. There's a communication with Northern Ireland. Certainly the timing of the phone call was said to have angered Michael O'Neill. And then there's Northern Ireland maybe taking a step back and saying, look, Kyle Lafferty's been a wonderful player for us over the years. He should... we can grant him a little bit of time to try and get his head right for this, with an agreement with him is like, look, we've got these fixtures coming up in November, including a friendly against the Republic of Ireland. We need you for those. So it's really frustrating though, because it's probably the worst area for us to be hit with an unnecessary suspension.
It absolutely is, yeah. He's the only player we've got that if something happens to Morelos in the game that could go in and play that role. The only other one. We'd have to do something a little bit different if that was the case. So yes, that in that respect frustrating. And I do agree, actually, just to say that as much as I feel as though Lafferty hasn't quite dealt with it correctly, I do agree that Northern Ireland could and probably should have been able to say, Kyle Lafferty's done an amazing job for us over the years, and we can grant him, this time, that's fine. It sounds as though, as you say, no one's dealt with it very well, and that just means he's going to be sitting in the stands instead of on the bench is a good option. It means 90 minutes for Morelos as long as he stays fit during the game, just before the Spartak Moscow game on that plastic pitch. Yeah, this isn't, it's just not ideal for us at all, and will probably lead to Kyle Lafferty just retiring from international football, which is not what anybody wanted, I don't think, to begin with.
No, it is. It's a real shame. And yeah, one of these circumstances where people's egos begin to kick in and people feel they can't step back, or they can't be seen to be stepping down in the argument, so it's hugely unfortunate for us. But with all that said, Rangers go along with some injury concerns. Scott Arfield also came back. He was away on international duty, but came back with an injury, and according to reports, will be touch and go whether he makes it at the weekend. Even allowing for this, though, Alex, we went to Hamilton last season and won 4-1 and 6-2. It was a good hunting ground for us. Their form has not been great this season so far, I think it's fair to say. And plastic pitch or not, given that Rangers desperately need an away win because it's becoming a thing. We haven't had an away win since February, and I don't really count that because whole new team in the summer. For me, it's 4 league matches, but even so, it is one of these stats that will get bandied about until you stop it. And you, in my opinion, can't handpick a better away fixture. With all due respect to Hamilton, they got tonked 6-0 by Hibs in their last game. They're not playing well. This is a side that not only should Rangers beat, we should beat comfortably, in my opinion.
We should. Hamilton are just one of those teams that are all over the place. It seems to have been the way for the past few seasons. You look at some of the results, first game of the season, absolutely hammered by Hearts at home. Then they go away to Motherwell and win. They go to play Celtic away from home and they're unlucky to lose 1-0 just after that. And then they go on a run of other defeats as well. They're very inconsistent. They seem to be either quite difficult stuff to beat at their best or horrendous at their worst. As you say, they could beat 6-0 by Hibs. The game before that, beat 2-0 off Dundee, who couldn't buy a win. Up until then. So yeah, they're not in great form. I think what I'm keen to see is there's going to be a little bit of an edge to our players and get into this one because of all the talk about away form and the results in the last game against Livingston. Our players are going to be a little bit extra motivated to show that this is no longer a thing. When that happens, we tend to do quite well, so that'll be interesting. Hamilton's set up with a back three that they play. They're slightly open as a team, or they can be. That maybe suits us as well. It'll be good to see. Hopefully the international break hasn't derailed too much. As you say, if Scott Arfield steps out, we've got good midfield options now. If he can't be played or can't be risked, got plenty of options in midfield. I'd imagine that only injuries will change the team from the last 2 matches. I think Gerrard might want to settle that a little bit more now rather than all the rotation. Or certainly for a few games anyway. We've got to make changes against Aberdeen anyway, for example. I think that we should, you're right, we should go out and play quite well and win this game. I guess it's just one of those things where with Hamilton, you're just never sure what they're going to be like when they show up. We stuck a lot of goals past them last season. Hopefully we'll do the same again this time.
Will there be any temptation from the manager to... One of the criticisms that has come out is that he's been guilty of overthinking away matches so far, and possibly this is a type of game where just go out and let them play. And in fact, our best performance away from home this season was against Kilmarnock in the League Cup, where Rangers went out and took the game by the scruff of the neck and had a go. Is that a valid criticism, especially when you look at I think it's fair to say the difference in ability between the two sides and the way that some of Rangers' key attacking players, Kent, Morelos, Candeas, are playing at the moment? Is there an argument for saying just take the shackles off Stephen, tell them to go out and beat this team by doing what they're good at?
Yeah, he has to do that. We've kind of discussed this before, that he's made changes away from home and some of them have been understandable. Aside from the Kilmarnock game domestically, obviously we're talking here, our best away performance was probably Aberdeen in the first game of the season, and we lined up in the way that, with the 4-3-3, and we looked to have a go, and it obviously all got derailed by the early red card. And Motherwell against Livingston, against Celtic, we've changed things. We've made changes to the team. We've changed the formation or the approach, and it's not worked. He has to let the team go out and play in this one, and they have to then go and prove that he's been wrong to do that. I think that's what we'll see. I think we'll see the minimum amount of changes that we can make to the last 2 games, and we'll just be like, as you say, to that forward three, go and play, go and do your best at. Ryan Ken running at them the entire game, etc. Hopefully the players will just forget about the fact they should be used to plastic pitches by now, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll just forget about the fact that it's that and just go and play, and not worry about. I think in the Livingston game we were a bit too concerned about what was coming. We had Rapid Vienna and Hearts within the next 7 days, and I think the players had their eyes on those games and took their eye off the ball in that one. And Gerrard very much said, seems to suggest that it was the same as well. So this time, don't worry about it. Hopefully they're not thinking, we've got Spartak then in the cup semi-final. Somebody like Morelos, for example, he's not playing in the semi-final, so he's just going to play in this one.
Yeah,
you'll be fine, etc. So yes, hopefully they'll just do their thing, and Gerrard will just say, look, you've gave me this level of performance here, show me you can do it elsewhere. If Gerrard tinkers at all, changes things a little bit, or tries to make us less free, less open, then again you'd have to, even if we win, you'd have to have some criticism for him, I think, because this team's surely has done enough at home matches to be given the right to try and play the same way away.
Yeah, I think so, and have done so against good opposition, as we saw against Hearts and Rapid Vienna. And this Rangers team are at their best when they are on the front foot. And again, if you're changing for away matches and it's working, that's one thing. And as fans, we, I suppose, can get a bit frustrated thinking we could be playing better than this, but it's not working. That's the point. So, yeah, I think all Rangers fans will be hoping to see us just go out and give it 100% attacking front foot football, because we're quite good at that. Now, Alex, you touched on it there. The semi-final follows the weekend after this, and Rangers will take on Aberdeen at 4:30 at Hampden. Now, Aberdeen, who had moaned that the kickoff time of the original kickoff time of 12 was too early for their fans, then saw the match change to 4:30. They then demanded a 50-50 split, saying that they would sell their tickets for this match, and have found themselves in a little bit of hot water, because not only have they not sold anywhere near that, around 9,000 they've sold at the time of recording, and even after an appeal by their manager and by the club have only managed to sell a further 100, but they have sold the tickets for the middle of the section, thus ensuring that, or their plan was to ensure that they would, because of a lack of segregation, because you can't segregate the area if that was to be the case, that they would then be able to maintain the section even if the tickets remained unsold. Whereas the SPFL, quite rightly, want Aberdeen to fill a section and then any unsold tickets to go to Rangers, not for any great moral love of Rangers, but because quite clearly it's costing them, and Aberdeen incidentally, it's costing all four clubs in the semi-final money. And on top of that, it's a bad look for a semi-final that could be full and a showpiece occasion that you've got thousands of empty seats. Now, the SPFL have stepped in and have told Aberdeen, tough, you are going to, we've cut your tickets from 21,000 to 15.5, and you will sell them in one section, and people will be moved. If you've sold tickets, then that's your fault. You will move your fans to accommodate this. Aberdeen fans are bleating. They're now saying that a 4:30 kick-off is too late for them to attend the match at Hampden. Alex, the word that's been bandied a lot is tin pot, and the suspicion lingers that if Aberdeen fans were more confident of beating us, then ticket sales wouldn't be a problem. What's your take on this whole farce?
Funnily enough, tin pot, I wouldn't even have used that myself. The first time I seen that in relation to this was an Aberdeen fan talking about their own club, wasn't it? Yeah. When he was mentioning on Twitter that he'd been getting phone calls from the club to try and sell tickets. So this one sums up just how tin pot they really are.
I am going to say something I very rarely say, and that's a slight praise of Aberdeen fans, who are obviously dreadful human beings, but the Aberdeen away support is quite loyal and quite big, for the size club, even when they're doing really badly. But when they're doing really badly, they kind of are the Aberdeen support. And even now when they're doing a bit better, they'll get some more for home matches, but they are not a loyal support. And that's what gets on my tits about 50-50 splits, because people who go to Scottish football week in, week out, or at least every 2 weeks, are being denied tickets, while people who will go once in a blue moon, or if the weather's nice, or if their team's winning, get tickets, and that's unfair in my opinion. But this is Aberdeen. Those Aberdeen fans, the travelling ones, are the ones. It was one of them who made that "we're a tin pot club" line, and they're embarrassed because they know, and they are right, that this really does fuck their cause for 50-50s going forward, because Rangers fans will quite rightly point out you couldn't sell your tickets, and the league, who are concerned, let's be honest, about selling, they don't particularly care who they're sold to, they just want to sell as many as they can, are going to say you need to demonstrate, we'll give you 10,000 this time, and you can sell them all out, and then maybe the next time you'll get more, because that has to be how it works, right?
It should be. But there was talk of this costing each of the 4 clubs about 300k or something like that.
Yeah.
The deal that Hampden and the SPFL have made to allow one of the semi-finals to move to Murrayfield is already cutting into costs. That was, quite well broken down elsewhere, and shows you just what Murrayfield's taken from this and how much money they're wanting for it, and the fact that Hampden's still getting paid despite one of the games not being played there. All of this is costing quite a bit. So for a team to do what Aberdeen tried to do was very, very strange behaviour on their part as well. Why would they want to kill money? I don't get it. Why would they want to at a time when Scottish football's on its knees financially? Why they'd want to do that? I can't understand that. Is their hatred of us that much?
Yes.
That they're willing to... I mean, that's crazy to me. And surely, I would have thought as well, as much as you say Aberdeen fans being the arseholes that they are in general, I'm going to get tight from a lot of my family for that, by the way.
Have you got sheep blood?
Well, my mum was born there, but she moved to Glasgow very, very young and became a Rangers fan before that. But
a refugee.
Yeah, I've got a number of relatives on her side that are Aberdeen fans.
That's okay. We're welcoming anyone who has left the path of wrongness and joined the path of the righteous. Are welcomed.
Yeah, but I might get a bit tight for that. Hopefully, I don't imagine you're listening. It's fine. They're loyal fans, the ones who show up all the time. As you say, they must be really, really annoyed by all of this. And I would have thought some of them would be asking, why is a club acting in a way that's going to cost us 6 figures? I mean, they've just had to sell a striker who'd done a great job for them in the summer. He's done a good job for them over a good few seasons. They sold him to Salford for 150k. Like, surely a club that's having to do that doesn't want to be knocking back 6-figure sums out of pettiness. So I would have thought Aberdeen fans should have been questioning the club as well. They probably won't, because it's us. If it had been anybody else, they would have.
Yeah.
Because it's against us, they won't. But surely someone there's got to be saying, what are we doing here? Just sell as many as we can, let Rangers sell the rest, and we'll coin that in regardless. If the team, it's a semi-final, anything can happen. God forbid they beat us, right? I don't think they will, but if they did, then not only are they coining it in from the semi-final anyway, they'll get the final after that, and if they don't, they make as much as they can from the semi-final. Surely that's the prudent decision. I don't get it personally, but maybe I'm trying to apply logic to something that doesn't have any.
Well, unfortunately, that's Scottish football in a nutshell. Okay then, Alex, just before we wrap up the show then, I'll just point people in the direction of our Patreon site, which continues to go from strength to strength, and some of the content on there is magnificent, as you heard, with the wonderful time capsule Martin Ramsey show this week on our feed here. If you like it, it's just $1.99 per month. Go to patreon.com/Heart and Hand. And also, if you would like to come and see Heart and Hand live at the Loudon Tavern on the 9th of November, you absolutely should. Please check out. The ticket link is available on my social media feed, which is @ibroxrocks, and our Facebook page, which is just Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast, but we'll also put it in the description of this show. Not many tickets left, and the reason I think you might want to come is joining us that night will be Craig Moore. And if you've been to one of our live shows, you know that ex-players just get put into the group. They are told, nope, you're part of this, and and as the banter and the questions flow, no topic is off limits. So if you want to come and see us, there are a few, not many, but there are a few tickets left. Please come and have a look at that, if you will. Now, Alex, just before we leave then, prediction for Sunday.
3-0 Rangers.
I will join you in 3-0 Rangers. So that should be your coupon, folks. And just time to thank our executive producers in London, Mr. Mike Lee and Paul Myers, and to thank my guests, the ever wonderful Mr. Alex Staff.
Thank you, David.
We will be back on Monday with Heart and Hand, the flagship podcast. Until then, have a great weekend and enjoy the return of proper football. Thanks for listening. Bye.